Good afternoon, this is Holloway with the National Weather Service for Alaska statewide weather for November 3rd, 2020. A couple options for you to further refine your weather search. 1-800 number, get you through a menu system. And we also have a web page, weather.gov/Alaska. Again, both are designed to help you further refine your weather search. Lastly, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions about the weather program, please contact us at the email listed there at the bottom of the page. For hazardous weather, we have a couple advisories out for the coastal areas of the Seward Peninsula and coastal area there near Conspicuous Sound, and also advisory out, and those are for high surf, and that's basically out till tomorrow morning. And then we also have a winter weather advisory out for portions of the YK Delta there, and that is again effective until 6 a.m. tomorrow. And lastly, there's a blizzard warning out for the Kuskokwim Delta region, Bethel included in on that, and then that's until 6 a.m. too. And lastly, we also have a winter storm advisory out for the Northeast Gulf Coast there around Yakutat, and that again goes for until Wednesday morning. Taking a look at the satellite image, you can see a weak trough pushing into the west coast there, driving some snow showers across much of the region up there from Nome all the way up to Ukqiavik, maybe even down into Bethel, and that's causing the blizzard warning conditions down in that region. Otherwise, a weak low in the Gulf, spinning some snow showers there near Yakutat and along the northeast Gulf Coast and into the northern Panhandle. And there's the next big system. We'll be watching that here as it moves across the Bering and into the west coast, and that's expected Thursday and Friday. But right now, much of the mainland's under high pressure, fog out along the Yukon River system around a 1017 millibar high. There's that trough moving into the west coast there, driving all those snow showers. Blizzard warning again out for the Kuskokwim Delta, and there's a occluded front showing up there just across the western Aleutians. Otherwise, weak low in the Gulf, 995 millibar low there. Weak troughs out associated with that system, driving some snow showers again across the northeast Gulf Coast and into the northern Panhandle. Mixed precipitation across the rest of the Gulf and into the Alaska Peninsula. Tonight's weather, high pressure remains over the much of the mainland. 1016 millibar high, fog, especially in the Fort Yukon area. Otherwise, weak onshore flow over the northwest coast will drive some snow showers there. Moderate to heavy rain associated with the occluded front showing up there. It's still, at this time for tonight, over the western Aleutians. And a couple low pressure systems in the Gulf will drive some light snowfall, mixed precipitation across much of the Gulf region for tonight. For Wednesday's weather, looking at that occluded front pushing further east, 957 millibar low now. Moderate to heavy rain continues with that system across much of the Bering into the Aleutians. Mixed precipitation further north, and again, high pressure dominates the mainland. Maybe some snow showers across the interior, but otherwise fog in the valleys. And a 973 millibar low just south of the Panhandle will drive some snow showers and rain showers in that region. Snow showers across the southern coastal mountains there. For Thursday weather, that occluded front finally pushes into the western interior. Snow showers. Again, there's no watches, warnings, or advisories out for that system, but be looking for that in the to be broadcast here beginning on Thursday. 961 millibar low there. and a stationary front stretching out from the Alaska Peninsula. That high pressure ridge pushing into Canada now, and 1,033 millibars there. For low temperatures Wednesday morning, looking at Kaktovik 7, Dead Horse 7, Utqiagvik 17, Point Hope 23, and let's see, Bettles minus 13, minus 15 in Fort Yukon, Eagle minus 25, Northway minus 18, Fairbanks minus 18, pretty chilly in the interior, minus 25 in McKinley, and then we've got Golkana 19, minus 19 there, and then 20s out along the western coast and down through the southwest portion of the state. King Salmon 11, Cold Bay 30, Dutch Harbor 38, and 30s across much of the Aleutians, 41 at Shemya, 36 in St. Paul, 21 in Savunga, Kodiak 22, Panhandle looks like 19 in Yakutat, 17 in Haines, 21 in Juneau, 32 in Sitka, 35 in Ketchikan. For Wednesday afternoon, let's start from the top. Kaktovik 16, 17 and Dead Horse 25 in Utqiagvik, Point Hope 28, Nome 30, 30s across much of the western coastal areas. As we move in interior, below zero readings, minus 4 in Eagle, minus 5 in Fort Yukon, Bettles minus 7, minus 6 in Arctic Village, minus 3 in Northway, and 1 in Tanana. Galena is 11, 17 in Talkeetna there, 18 in Anchorage, 24 in Kenai, 33 in Kodiak, 30s and 40s down through the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians, with 35 in Cold Bay, 40 in Dutch Harbor, 25 in Haines as we move into the Panhandle, 29 in Yakutat, 31 in Juneau, 38 in Sitka, 40 in Ketchikan. Low temperatures for Thursday morning, if let's start from the top again, Kaktovik 11, 8 in Dead Horse, 14 in Barrow, Point Hope 23 as we move into the interior, minus 22 in Arctic Village, minus 13 in AKwx Pass, minus 18 in Bettles, minus 16 in Fort Yukon, minus 17 in Eagle, minus 12 in Fairbanks there, Tanana minus 13, minus 1 in Galena, 13 in Kotzebue, 22 in Nome, 15 in Uniacleet, 12 in Grayling, Emonic 24, Bethel 20, and then 19 in Dellingham, 12 in King Salmon, 30s and 40s down through the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians, with 33 in Cold Bay, 40 in Dutch Harbor, 41 in Shemya, St. Paul 39, Savunga 34, and then we move into the Gulf region, 25 in Kodiak, 10 in Seward, 30 in Cordova, 16 in Valdez, 17 in Yakutat, Haines 17 in Juneau, 28 in Sitka, 34 in Ketchikan. And lastly, as we move into high temperatures on Thursday afternoon, again starting from the top, Kaktovik 19, 18 in Dead Horse, 21 in Utqiagvik, Point Hope 32, minus 8 in Arctic Village, 3 in AKwx Pass, minus 4 in Fort Yukon, 3 in Eagle, 1 in Northway, is moving to the central part of the state, Bettles minus 2, Fairbanks 8, Tanana 4, 15 in Galena, Uniacleet, 27, 40 in Emonic, and then Bethel 40, 30 in Lime Village, Antioch 36, and then as we move into the Bristol Bay region, Dillingham 41, King Salmon 41, and then 40s and maybe even a 50 across much of the Alaska Peninsula into the Aleutians, and then 20s and 17 there in Haines, with 23 in Juneau and 39 in Ketchikan.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the flying weather for Wednesday morning, some marginal conditions show up along much of the west coast and into the western north slope. As a weak trough approaches that area, snow showers associated with that brings some marginal conditions. IFR conditions in the Fort Yukon area with low clouds and some fog. And IFR conditions out there in the western Aleutians with an approaching system that we'll see show up on the west coast on Thursday. But not to get ahead of myself, marginal conditions across portions of the Gulf. For Wednesday afternoon, there's a system approaching now into the central Aleutians with IFR conditions, lingering marginal conditions along the northwest portion of the mainland, and marginal conditions in the Gulf and IFR conditions in the southern panhandle. For Thursday morning, the system finally makes it to the western mainland, portions of the Seward Peninsula, YK Delta, IFR conditions there, and down through the eastern Aleutians with marginal conditions out ahead of that system. Again, IFR conditions in the Fort Yukon area with some low clouds and fog. Otherwise, some marginal conditions in the Gulf. Otherwise, some nice flying conditions in the Panhandle. For Thursday afternoon, system pushes onshore over the southwest and west with Seward Peninsula, much of the southwest and Alaska Peninsula in IFR conditions, and marginal conditions over the southern Panhandle. Past conditions for Wednesday, Anaktuvuk, VFR early, marginal by the end of the day with marginal conditions on the north entrance. Same for Adigan, Lake Clark, and Merrill, and this will be much the same for many of the passes in Alaska Range. VFR conditions, rainy VFR, windy VFR, Isabel VFR, Mentasta VFR, Tunita VFR. When you get down into Portage, VFR conditions there, and even Chilkoot and White down in the Panhandle get VFR conditions. Freezing levels for Wednesday morning, you have to go well south of into the Panhandle to see the surface freezing level there, and that also crosses into the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, it moves out into the northern Bering. You have to get into the Aleutians to get some elevated freezing levels, and the elevated freezing levels does cross the southern end of the Panhandle with 2,000 foot freezing level there. For icing conditions on Wednesday, below 7,000 feet over portions of the west coast and the southwest and Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, between 7 and 10,000 feet as you get into the Panhandle and into Canada. For the jet stream on Wednesday, ridge of high pressure, 160 knot winds in a southerly fashion around that ridge of high pressure. Otherwise, northerly winds coming down on the front side of that ridge with 125 to 130 knots there, crossing the Alaska Peninsula, YK Delta, and low pressure system in the Gulf with 100 knots crossing the central Aleutians into Canada. Otherwise, light and variable across the eastern mainland. For 9,000 foot winds on Wednesday, again, high pressure ridge driving a lot of the winds there. Northerly winds across western mainland and into Alaska Peninsula with 65 knots there. Otherwise, southerly to westerly winds coming into the Aleutians with 90 knots there, 90 to 95. And again, low pressure system analyzed in the just south of the Panhandle with 40 to 45 knots in generally a southwesterly wind coming across the Panhandle. Otherwise, light and variable across the mainland over the eastern mainland, and a weak low pressure on the north slope. For 3,000 foot winds, again, high pressure driving a lot of the winds from the southerly direction across the western Aleutians, 90 to 95 knots there. Northerly winds across much of the southwest with 40 to 50 knots there, crossing the Alaska Peninsula. Low pressure well south of the Panhandle, driving some light and variable winds across the Panhandle and into much of the mainland. Otherwise, a weak low pressure system along the north slope, driving some northerly winds across that area. Turbulence for Wednesday, below 6,000 feet over portions of the Panhandle and northern Alaska Peninsula, otherwise below 4,000 feet across the Aleutians.
again. I'm meteorologist Dave Snyder with the National Weather Service for another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. And joining us again, talking about the Augmented Reality Sandbox, is Eric Stevens from GINA, the Geographic Information Network of Alaska. And he's actually talking about a project from AKwx, which is the experimental program to stimulate competitive research. A lot of acronyms, but some really fun stuff today, right, Eric?
You bet. We've got a learning tool that is a tool that's fun to use, and it really has a relevance to actually daily lives of anyone who goes outside and sees lumpy topography in Alaska. We've got a lot of mountains and such. You know, when I was younger and go on your first hike in the hills, say, you're given, maybe you're in the Boy Scouts or you get at the kiosk at the trailhead, a topographic map, a flat piece of paper with all these lines on it, bullseyes, long lines that curve back on themselves, say, perhaps things that look like this, a quadrangle or a topographic map. We've got here just to illustrate a couple of examples near Denali. Alaska has so much topography, so many mountains. And what are all these lines that we see? It can be tough to know what this means the first time you look at it. What we've got, all these lines represent lines of where the elevation of the topography goes through a certain level above sea level, say that this line represents where the mountains have gone from below 1,000 feet, mean sea level, up through 1,000 feet and above. That's your 1,000-foot contour. And when the mountain keeps going up, you're up to 1,200 feet, 1,400 feet, and so on. And that's how you get this little bullseye around the peak of a mountain.
Kind of makes layered slices, right?
Kind of like layered slices. Nice way to look at that. And when you see the lines are closer together, you're going up more steeply. If the mountain rises more slowly, it takes you longer in horizontal space to go through those different vertical increments. So
that is really hard to visualize.
Right. Imagine you're looking at a 2D piece of paper, two-dimensional piece of paper, but you're trying to understand what the three-dimensional world looks like. Wow. Enter the augmented reality sandbox. Yes, what is that? It is right here. We have the sandbox with us today, Sandbox 2.0, portable version.
Sweet.
Built up at University of Alaska Fairbanks. And we've got a couple of folks helping out today.
Let's see, Alana Valaji, and she's a mechanical engineering student from the University of Alaska Fairbanks. If you want to give us a thumbs up there, Alana, thanks for helping us out today. And Courtney Brees, she's the outreach coordinator from AKwx, also helping us out today. Thanks, Courtney.
And this tool here has a Microsoft Kinect to sense the level of sand in this sandbox. And then the Kinect feeds its information into a computer that then sends a signal to a projector to draw the appropriate topographic lines on this topography. The fun thing about this, as we can see here, is that the sandbox and its Kinect and its projector, they all work as a team. So here we've got a mountain in the middle of the sandbox. What if we took down the mountain to some degree? Watch as the software responds and redraws the topography.
Kind of a caldera forming there.
There you go, And what's fun about the sandbox too is it knows that gravity flows downhill, and we've got some water that's actually down in the lowest elevations. And what's happening now is we're making it rain a little bit. We'll fill up rain into that elevated lake bed, that caldera, as you said. And so now water is pooled up there. And what if you gouged out an outlet channel?
Glacial dam release.
There you go. The water flows out. What we're seeing here is a tool that allows people to touch and connect, Microsoft Connect, RRR, to connect two-dimensional topographic maps like what we have here, these flat things on a piece of paper, to the real three-dimensional world. I think this Sandbox's real particular application as a learning tool to young people is, what does a two-dimensional map mean when it's trying to represent the three-dimensional world? This sandbox is kind of both at once. It's actually three-dimensional, lumpy topography there, the sand, but it's got these lines drawn on the three-dimensional sand that would be on a two-dimensional piece of paper.
Wow, that is a huge leap from the learning that we experienced when we were younger to how children and even adults are visualizing in these new forms of technology. Allows that to kind of reshape their thinking and visualize this in a very useful and absolutely hands-on way. It's amazing.
It's a hands-on tool, and
it's hard for me to sit here and not go play with that.
Well, that's what happened at GINA up at the University of Alaska in Fairbanks when the first model was being made, the prototype with plywood and such. We had professional adult professor types had heard about this, and they came by because they wanted to see how it worked.
Okay.
And everyone becomes that idealistic, wonder-filled youngster.
Sure.
And you just can't help but play with that, and to see how it reacts in time, and
Right.
it's a dynamic learning tool, and it
Dynamic,
responds.
That's exactly the word.
And
Yeah.
you wonder what applicabilities beyond a teaching
Right.
tool for
Where does it
topography
go?
can it have? You can see how in Alaska we have inundation mapping is an issue. If you had water slosh inland, say in a coastal flooding event
Right.
on the western coast of Alaska or the Arctic coast, you could see this. The concept is illustrated here as an introductory learning method. I think this is a potentially good outreach tool for all of us in Alaska.
Okay, so not only just a topographical sense, a mapping sense, maybe something that leads into understanding of how geographic information systems work with GIS, but also geology, if we wanted to get into kind of the formations and the bigger land masses and the representation of the 2D map. We could go into hydrology, which is very important in Alaska, of course. And even just understanding a weather sense. Mounding up a big pile of sand could be that Arctic high pressure system sitting on top of Fairbanks, and the voids would be low pressure systems. This can go a lot of different directions.
Yes, exactly. It's not just landforms, but pressure has contours of high pressure and low pressure. And I wish I had had this kind of a learning tool when I was taking
kidding.
Meteorology 101 back 25 years ago.
wow.
Would have been helpful, I think.
Probably would have gotten a better grade, yeah. Okay, thank you so much for coming by, Eric, and Alana and Courtney, thank you so much for your help there in the sandbox. We are going to play in the sandbox a little bit more coming up tomorrow on our next edition of Alaska Weather Facts. We hope you join us for that. In the meantime, make sure you go to alaska.edu/EPSCOR. That's alaska.edu EPSCOR to learn more information about what we're doing with this augmented reality sandbox around Alaska. We'll see you next time on Alaska Weather Facts.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Taking a look at the marine forecast, starting with the sea ice analysis, we do have some lower concentrations of ice along the YK Delta, portions of Norton Sound, Kotzebue Sound, and the northwest coast. We also have a little bit of ice showing up in Cook Inlet, but otherwise along the Beaufort Sea, pretty good ice concentrations in that region. Marine forecast for Wednesday for the southeast, inside waters, winds chilling from the north at 25 to 35, seas high as 7 feet in Lynn Canal. Outside waters, winds chilling from the north at 25 to 30, seas as high as 11 feet there in the southern end. And for Thursday's forecast, inside waters, winds from the north at 20 to 45 over the Lynn Canal area with seas as high as 9 feet there. Outside waters, winds from the north at 25 to 30, seas as high as 14 feet at the southern end. And for south central marine forecast, Prince William Sound, winds from the north at 25, seas as high as 4 feet. For the Gulf region, winds from the north at 25 to 35, with seas as high as 8 feet. And Cook Inlet, winds from the north at 20 to 35, with seas as high as 12 feet there near Kamishak Bay. For Thursday, Prince William Sound, winds generally from the north at 20, seas as high as 3 feet. Gulf region, winds generally from the north or northwest at 25 to 30, seas as high as 9 feet. Cook Inlet, winds generally from the north at 10 to 20, seas as high as 4 feet in the Kamishak Bay region. For Wednesday, Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, around Kodiak Island, winds generally from the northwest at 35 to 50, seas as high as 14 feet. South side of the peninsula, winds generally from the northwest at 40, with seas high as 13. North side of the peninsula, winds from the north generally at 35, seas as high as 14 feet. And for Thursday, winds really picking up around the peninsula, winds generally from the southwest, 35 to 40, with seas as high as 20 feet there on the north side of the peninsula. Otherwise, around Kodiak Island, winds from the southwest, 25 to 35, seas as high as 12 feet. For loose and chain, Wednesday, pretty good storm force to almost hurricane force winds out there. Winds generally from the south at 55, seas as high as 32 feet. In the central and eastern Aleutians, winds from the south at 25 to 45, with seas as high as 15 feet just south of Atka. Coming down on Thursday for the Aleutian chain, especially over the western Aleutian, winds still a southerly direction across the region, up to 45 there between Kiska and Shemian, with seas as high as 27 feet. Otherwise, in the central and eastern Aleutian, winds generally from the southwest at 30 to 45, seas as high as 29 feet, just south of Nikolsky. For the marine forecast for West Coast, winds generally from the south at 25 to 30, seas as high as 15 feet there near St. Lawrence Island. North Sound winds generally from the northwest at 20, seas as high as 6 feet. And for Thursday, winds generally from a southwesterly direction with possible gale force winds across much of the region, up to 40 to 45, even 50 there in Norton Sound, with seas as high as 27 feet near St. Matthew Island. With the marine forecast for the Arctic coast along the north slope there and the North Arctic coast there, winds generally from the south 25, seas as high as 8 feet in the ice-free areas. Down through the northwest coast, winds from the west at 25, seas as high as 11 feet. And down through the Bering Strait, winds from the south 25 to 30, seas as high as 8 feet. And for Thursday, along the Beaufort Sea coast, winds generally from the south 15 to 20, seas as high as 5 feet in the ice-free area. And through the northwest coast, winds from the south east at 30 to 45, seas as high as 20. And down through the Bering Strait, look for gale or even close to storm force winds from the south at 45, seas as high as 19 feet. For tonight's weather, 10-16 millibar high across the mainland with fog, especially in the Fort Yukon area. Otherwise, snow showers showing up around weak low pressure on the northwest coast. And there's the big system coming into the Aleutian with moderate to heavy rain out in the western Aleutians, and mixed areas of low pressure across the Gulf region and the southern end of the mainland and into the Gulf region.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.